Welcome to an APA Masters match. This match is between Will and John. It occurred on 15th of June 2025. The Masters is a race to seven. If you start with eight ball, then you will play 5 games of eight ball and then switch to nine ball. And you can play up to 8 games of nine ball. So if you start with nine ball, you could finish in nine ball and never go to eight. Anyway, Will is on my team, and John is his opponent for this particular match. And I went ahead and I took out most, if not all, of the space in between shots. Well, some of the shots that took a little bit more time, or like right here, there was a ball in hand that Will accidentally, dropped the ball on another object ball, so gave away ball in hand to John. So I like that safety. A lot of players in the APA, particularly lower skill level players, I feel don't play enough safeties, defensive shots. Um, then there are those I've seen that play a lot of them, and unfortunately, that's where there are times too that they don't call their defensive shots and they stay low for longer than they need to. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, in this match, John is a seven, a skill level seven in both eight ball and nine ball, even though scores don't or skill levels don't matter in the Masters because the race is still the same. It's going to be race of seven. Will presently is a six in eight ball and a seven in nine ball. So Will earns the first win in eight ball. I started recording my matches back when I was playing tournaments and just wanted to share with my family who wanted to watch me play. And then I got to a point where I wanted to review what I had done and even be able to review with other players on my team. So, all right, John wins that one. So the score is 1-1. Will with one, and John with the second one. All right. So since then, I've seen that recording and or streaming these matches is beneficial to go back and suggest other possibilities. Uh, I enjoy it. I encourage it. I've got another team member or a couple of friends that will record their matches. All right, so we're in the third game, and John misses the two, and with all those balls on the table, you can pretty much bet that there's going to be a defensive shot. And there it is. John grabs his jump cue. You can use a jump cue in Masters APA. He jumps, makes a great hit, just doesn't pocket the ball. Oh, another defensive shot that accidentally went in. In APA, if you make something, you continue shooting, regardless of whether you intended to play a defensive shot. Both of these players, or any player that's playing in the Masters, pretty much can run out at any given time. Maybe not all the time, but I mean, they have the ability to run out. So John wins that one. The score now is 2-1. Earns the third game. That was a decent safety, it looks like. Will has to go to the air. Unfortunately, we have a bad angle to view it, but he's jumping over the pile. And I believe that he was successful hitting one of his balls and hitting a rail. All right, so the score is 2-2. This will be the last 8-ball rack. Scratch on the break. Now in APA, you got to have the cue ball behind the head string following a scratch on the break. Just a little wide. I believe he was trying to hit the rail and come up behind the 11. Would have been a good defensive shot. So he bumped the 8 and knowing that he wouldn't be able to do anything good with hitting the eight ball, and he always has the chance to scratch with that. He went ahead and played a defensive shot that resulted into a foul, deliberate and intentional foul, so that he can try to maintain control of the table. And then a couple of exchanges of defensive shots, and he is going to jump again. He's called the side pocket as a bank. Jumps and nearly makes it. That was a beautiful attempt. I think he came back a little short for the his desired shot, but as it is, John's up 3-2, and now we're going to nine ball. I see the one ball goes in the side. Two says nope, I'm not going. So I think we'll try to play safety, and didn't expect to hit the six. Uh, Gives John a pretty good look at the table. And this is the second time I've seen a shot that came up a little short come off that rail. John gets the first rack of nine ball. I don't recall if that table has a problem with the rail at that particular spot, or if both shots were just played a little soft. Drive the two ball into the end rail, but it doesn't hurt too bad. Blocked by the six and the nine. Will jumps again. Clears at six with no problem. Gives distance for the two ball. There we go. Safety. And unfortunately, I mean, I think unfortunately, cue ball could have come down on either side of that six, and I would have liked it better. But there's no problem with having a little angle on it. So Will gets the second game in nine ball. Score is 3-4, according to Will. And that would have been a good safety if the cue ball was up against the eight, or if the two ball wasn't hit quite as hard. But I do believe that's supposed to be a nine ball, that combination, 2-9, and it just happens to be that he hooked Will. One of the good things about Masters is you don't have to actually record your innings nor your defensive shots. Will is indicating where he would like to have had the cue ball stop. Ooh, this is what a lot of people do. They accidentally hook themselves. I know I do it all the time. I probably do it about as much as my opponent does it deliberately. But John uses a jump cue and jumps over the six, hits the five, does well. Overcut the five, and it's probably going to hurt. Mm, Nine ball's too big. Don't you hate it when the seven ball or any of the last few balls stays right in the pocket? It gives a what it a lot easier of an out than what it should be for your opponent, particularly the nine ball. Now we have Will at three and John at five after five racks of eight ball and three racks of nine ball. I think that he was trying to bank the one ball back here in the corner, but went too wide, hit the side rail. It didn't leave anything desirable. Now Will is jumping with the aid of a bridge because he's got to stretch for it otherwise. So he does very well and even makes the one ball. I'm not going to say that three ball was easy, but there tends to be something that a lot of pool players do, and that's they make a hard shot or make one that has to take a lot of focus and attention, and then they miss the easy shot or one that you think that is so easy that you don't even have to aim hardly. Well, you really should aim and focus. Make sure that you're deliberately putting the cue ball exactly where you need to for every shot. With ball in hand, and there's only four balls left on the table, I do expect Will to be able to finish this out, no problem. And particularly since none of the balls were clustered together, they weren't touching each other. and none of them were in the direct path of the cue ball going to the next ball. However, a little bit of an overcut or undercut on any ball can really change things. So the score is 3-6 after 9 racks of Masters and 5 racks of 8 ball and 4 racks of 9 ball. How do you get so lucky? You miss the intended 2 ball shot. You not only make the two, but you make the three. You get in great shape on the four. So there it concludes the Masters match between Will and John. John won with a break and run in the 10th rack